This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Place to Be Nation, welcome back to another edition of the movie review of the day here on the Pop Experience. I am Steve Riddle, back again for another go-around, and we are concluding this week by going back into the films of one Mr. Don Bluth. Of course, we've been on this journey now pretty much since we started this, I've been on this journey since we started this pod back in January, and we are currently now up to his fifth film that he would do, and now we're kind of starting to see a little bit of the decline here. So, we'll see how we do from here. But we'll talk about it here. So the film we're going to be talking about is, as I said, Don Bluth's fifth animated film. That is Rock-A-Doodle. This was released on August 2nd, 1991, so my birthday, in the UK. It was released in the US on April 3rd, 1992. Budget of $18 million, box office 11.6, so a little bit of a failure there. Starring Glen Campbell, Ellen Green, Christopher Plummer, Phil Harris, Eddie Deezen, Sandy Duncan, Charles Nelson Riley, Sorrell Brooke, Toby Scott Gallagher, among others. The film focuses on a boy who is turned into a kitten, and he teams up with a group of farm animals to save their rooster and bring him back to their farm to save them from a group of owls who are trying to consume them. So, as I usually do, I will go ahead and start things off here with the three things that worked and three things that didn't work. So, three things that worked. Number one, honestly, given that the main character of our, or one of the main characters here, Chanticleer, is a singer, they obviously made a right idea to go out and get an actual singer to play him, hence why they got Glen Campbell. For those that may not know, he was a country music star, and he actually hosted his own show from 69 to 72 called the Glen Campbell Good Time Hour. So, there was during that time that, some of those artists would get their own like TV shows, and he's obviously had a lot of big hits over the years, and he definitely, and he also did do some other films besides this. He was actually in the original True Grit in 1969, and he's done a couple of other things. But this would actually be one of his last performances. This was actually his last film. He did do a TV show in '97, but that would pretty much be it. But again, having him be the both of the speaking voice and singing voice of Chanticleer was a smart idea, because again, he's obviously a singer, and he definitely projected very well for Chanticleer. So I think that was again a very smart move by Bluth and the animators that they were able to bring him in. So number two, kind of the little bit of mixing of live action and animation, I thought was really well done. We don't see a ton of it. We only see it, a little bit in the beginning when we first meet Edmund and his family as they're, trying to protect their home from a flood. And then that moment where the Duke finally shows up for the first time and turns Edmund into an animated kitten, I thought again was also really well done. And then at the very end when Edmund reverts back to being a human boy with all the animated characters there, I thought again was a nice little touch. And then that final scene where he's brought back to the farm as a human to celebrate with all the animals, again, I thought was really well done. And so a lot of credit there to Bluth for that as well. And then number three, the relationship or the journey that Edmund takes on this throughout this film, from being this young boy to being turned into this kitten, and going on this journey with the animals to the city to find Chanticleer. Obviously being a very young boy, he hasn't had to deal with a lot, and he's trying to prove that he's brave. And of course, one of the running things is that Peepers always calls him a scaredy cat, which, aside from the fact that he's an actual kitten, she's more playing to the fact that he's, so afraid. And then there's that moment where they're being chased by Pinky and his goons, where Peepers and gets separated from them after the trailer gets disconnected from the car. And it's at that moment Emmett kind of realizes that he finally needs to, show a little backbone, and he actually takes control of the car and goes back to find her. So again, I thought that was, really good little story told about how, about Emmett kind of going from this, timid boy to a timid kitten to kind of stepping up. And then there's that moment at the end there where he's trying to get Chanticleer to, believe in himself again. He's, kind of starting to chant while everyone else is hiding. And then he ends up getting sacrificed by the Duke, and that leads the other animals to finally kind of rise up as well and bring Chanticleer around. So again, really, I thought really well done there. So now we'll go to the 3 things that didn't work. Number 1, the way that the farm animals turned on Chanticleer there in the beginning, I thought was really kind of bizarre, because the whole idea is that when Chanticleer crows, the sun comes up, and there's that moment where he gets into a fight with a stranger, and during the fight, the sun starts coming up without him crowing, and then the animals basically all turn on him. They say he's a fraud, and they basically run him off the farm. But then as soon as he leaves, the sun goes back down, and that's when the rain starts. And at that point, you figure the animals would probably be like, hey, wait a minute, something's not right here. Maybe we should try to bring him back. But, but then by that point, it's too late, and Chanticleer's already gone. So they never really did kind of explain why the sun came up in that little moment there without Chanticleer crowing, and then went back down after he had left. I don't know. I think they could have done a little bit better of explaining that, because it just feels like a missed plot hole that, or it just seems like it was just there to get Chanticleer to be forced to leave the farm, and then kind of set up where the owls kind of start taking over the farm and the rain starts falling. So again, that's one of a little minor nitpick there. Number 2, as much as I like the idea of having a singer come on and be Chanticleer, the fact that they pretty much made him an Elvis impersonator, well, actually saying it. I mean, if you watch him, it's pretty much he's got the mannerisms down, he's got the look down, he's got the voice in essence. I don't know. I'm sure Campbell at some point had to have met Elvis in real life. And the fact that they even call him the king, it's like, tell me you're an Elvis impersonator without actually saying it. So, I think at the time, I don't know if a lot of kids knew who Elvis was. I mean, I'm sure parents obviously would have, but, it just seems like, they went all out of their way to make him an Elvis impersonator without actually saying he was an Elvis impersonator. So I don't know. I just thought that was really kind of weird. And then number 3, the ending is a little bit anticlimactic, because you finally got this moment where they bring Chanticleer back. They have this great big showdown with all the owls, and you got the Duke who turns himself into this giant tornado, and it just ends. So eventually, the whole idea is to get, to have Chanticleer get his confidence back. And there's that moment where he finally is like, yeah, I can do this. And he brings the sun back up, and that's, that turns the Duke into a, from a giant into a small owl, which I thought was a, good transformation. But, I don't know, it just felt again, like you're waiting for this big showdown with the owls and all these farm animals. And then we just kind of get that. And it just feels, again, just felt very anticlimactic, and I don't know. Maybe I was hoping for a little bit of a bigger conclusion. So yeah, it just kind of hurt it for me. I think like we didn't get this big this big showdown and this big final battle between these two entities, and we just kind of got the Duke turning into this big tornado, and then Chanticleer finally crowing, bringing the sun back up, and then the Duke being transformed into a mini owl. So again, just one of those. I just kind of wish maybe they would have thought a little bit, did something a little bit differently there at the end. And now we'll go ahead and go to my awards here. So my MVP film, I mean, Glen Campbell again was really good. I thought Phil Harris was good as Patu, and what would end up being his last role because he would tragically pass away in 1995. But when I think of Phil Harris, I always think of him, the big three characters of Baloo, Thomas O'Malley, and Little John for the Disney films. So I do. That's why I remember him for. So I'm actually going to go with Sandy Duncan, who played Peepers. She, I thought, brought a lot of big energy to such a tiny character, and they kind of play up the whole tension between Peepers and Snipes throughout the movie. And I thought she was. I thought she did a really good job in bringing Peepers to life there. So. My favorite character, though, I think would definitely have to be Patu. He's kind of the level-headed guy in the group, and he's the one kind of trying to bring everything together, and his whole running the thing throughout the film of not being able to tie his shoes, which. Again, that's kind of a weird thing. Is he's got 4 paws. Yeah, it's only his back 2 paws that have the shoes on. Like, wouldn't he have bunions on all 4 of his paws? Because that's why he said he needs shoes, is because of bunions. But wouldn't they be on all 4 paws and not just his back 2 paws? So I don't know, just kind of weird. But I thought he was, the best character. My least favorite character, there were a couple that I didn't really prefer. Snipes was definitely kind of annoying throughout the film. Like, he's, kind of the outlier of the group. I didn't like Goldie that much. She's again just kind of thrown in there just to be the love interest for Chanticleer, and she kind of she does get a little bit of a, I guess, face turn at the end there, but just kind of, didn't seem deserved. But I think my least favorite character would definitely be Hunch, who's the Duke's nephew, and sent on there to, he's very bumbling and very, ineffective as a villain. I mean, he causes a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? Collateral damage. Is when he's trying to fulfill his missions, and it just, I've talked about characters before that kind of toe that fine line between being annoying and being, funny, and he's kind of more on the annoying side. So I do have to, I'd have to say him. My favorite scene, I think it would probably have to be the scene where we see Chanticleer as the king for the first time. He does this big musical number. I thought that was a really good scene. You have that one older bird who's kind of uneasy about him, and then she kind of falls from there at the end. So I thought that was interesting. And then that would also, I think, have to be my favorite song, Rock-A-Doodle. There are a couple of decent little songs here. The opening song, Sun Do Shine, I thought was good. We Hate the Sun by the Owls, I thought was fun. So, I mean, there's some decent songs in here, even though there weren't a ton of long ones. And then for my final overall grade, this definitely was the weakest of the films so far that I've reviewed. I mean, to this, just to kind of give you an idea. So I mean, obviously I do give ratings for all my films, but then, I said that I was going to, kind of do a final ranking of all the Don Bluth films when we were done here. So just to kind of give you an idea where we're at so far. So Secret and Nim, I gave 8 out of 10. American Tail, I gave 9.5. Land Before Time, 9. And All Dogs Go to Heaven, 8. So pretty, that's a pretty strong group right there. And this one definitely feels like the outlier, as I'm going to go 6 out of 10 for this one. Again, it had its moments. It was, not terrible. Had some moments, but it's definitely the weakest of the Don Bluth films to this point. And considering this was also the last one he did solo as a director, and going forward he would have Gary Goldman co-directing with him, I think you could tell he was definitely. I think you could definitely feel the pressure on him because, like I said, this came out in '92, and just before it, a couple months before it came Disney's juggernaut that was Beauty and the Beast. So I think he sees, I think he kind of sees the writing on the wall. And he realizes that he's, he needs to kind of step it up here. And this is going to be interesting because now we're getting to the next couple of films which I've never seen before. So we'll see if he comes back strong here, particularly with his next one, which is Thumbelina. So looking forward to seeing how that if that holds up. Well, that holds up well. So, but with that, that's going to do it for me. Thank you again for listening. Thank you for continuing to support us as we are inching ever closer. Just to kind of give you an idea, this is episode number 90, so we're 10 away from 100 already. So, kind of crazy before we hit 100 episodes of this pod. But again, when it's 5 days a week, the episodes stack up quickly. So, but thank you again for listening. Thank you for continuing to support us, and we will continue to provide the content. So with that, I am Steve Riddle. This has been the movie review of the day here on the Pop Experience, and we'll see you next time.
Girl, there's the one thing that I know. For you're the reason this rooster has got to crow. I wanna rock-a-doodle you. I wanna rock till the day is through. I wanna rock-a-doodle through the night. I wanna rock till the morning light. Well, it ain't right.